I'm here today to protest the ongoing genocide in Palestine. Difficult to find the adjectives to describe what's going on. The rest of the world seems to be turning a blind eye. It's a shameful time we live in. Israel seems to be have total impunity in terms of being called to justice for their absolute genocide in Palestine.
I decided to come here today to stand in support of the Palestinians who are going through a genocide right now, and my husband is also Palestinian as well.
Come out here because I'm tired of serial killers being interviewed on the television every night. It's like the Armageddon looking at it on the telly. And most Western governments here, their silence is sickening. Yeah. And I just can't stand and look at children being butchered and everything night after night. So I'm nearly 70 years of age in November, and I've been out on these marches all the time. And I don't care who's listening, and I never stop because it's just revolting, it's disgusting. And where's the humanity in each other?
We are here in protest of the genocide that is happening in Palestine. As Irish people, we know what it's like to have a resistant army rise up. So we are here for the people. We don't believe what is happening is right.
So I think I'm at the protest for similar reasons to everybody else, demanding a ceasefire. Obviously absolutely appalled with the upsurge in conflict with Israel breaking the ceasefire this week.
Beginning of the hostilities and the breaking of the ceasefire by Israel. That kind of particularly motivated me to come out today.
I've come to the protest today because we've seen the ceasefire deal be intentionally collapsed by the Israeli government. And we have seen the Irish government capitulate entirely on everything.
I think there's just such a spirit for it here in Ireland, where I'm from, the US, and I think there's a lot more animosity towards people who are pro-Palestine. So there's also just something that's I think gives you a lot of hope to take part in something like this in a country that is overwhelmingly supportive of Palestine.
We are here to demonstrate that Jewish people are not monolithic in our support for Israel. We are here because we see our names and our history of oppression, similar to Irish oppression, being used for the dehumanization, the murder and the displacement of Palestinians. We have a moral compulsion to come here and to stand up against it and to demand that the Irish government takes action, and in particular drops the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is used primarily to silence Palestinians and silence criticism of Israel, and replace it with the Jerusalem Declaration of Anti-Semitism, which, aside from being better for free speech, is also much more effective in terms of combating anti-Semitism as it actually exists today.
Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! We will see a free Palestine in our lifetime, I know it! And Ireland will lead the way!
In what world is it ethical or legal for the Irish government to cynically use its recognition of some state of Palestine to whitewash its continued complicity in the transit of US weapons to Israel, enabling it to destroy the lives of the indigenous people of Palestine?
The march contained a broad coalition of political parties, trade unions and activist organisations, ranging from the mainstream to fringe groups.
Resistance is justified! Resistance is justified! Come on! Do it right! Show the settlers all your might! Come on! Do it right! Show the settlers all your might! Settlers are not civilians! Land back to Palestinians! Settlers are not civilians! Land back to Palestinians! There is only one solution! Intifada revolution! There is only one solution! Intifada revolution! We got this! We got this! Victory to the resistance fighters! We got this! We got this! Victory to the resistance fighters! In the face of occupation! Resistance is an obligation! In the face of occupation! Resistance is an obligation!
If you look at Hamas's army compared to the Israel army, they're two completely different things. One is a resistance due to oppression and due to colonization. The other is an army that's out for blood. They believe they are the better religion, the better race, whatever, and it's genocide.
Believe it or not, the Irish Central Bank is the dedicated EU bank for selling Israeli bonds.
solutions to the government. One, to work to suspend UN membership of the State of Israel. Second, I would like to propose that the Irish government sends a force to Gaza now.
What do you want the Irish government to do?
It's just very important that Ireland impose sanctions and cut off all trading with Israel. I think it's honestly shameful that we're still involved with this state, after all the evidence.
I think what the Irish government can do now is to pass the Occupied Territories Bill. They promised to pass the bill. Everybody promised to pass the bill on the leaders' debate before the election in November. The election has happened, the coalition has been formed, so there's no reason for delay.
Boycott, divest, sanction, and just get rid of Israel in any sporting competitions. Eurovision, that's coming up soon.
We need to pass the Occupied Territories Bill immediately. Micheál Martin is full of talk, but he doesn't walk the walk. And we need him and the rest of the government to actually stand up and make their voice heard.
Firstly, enact the Occupied Territories Bill, and then go further in supplying further evidence to South Africa in their case against Israel, and the free trade agreement with the EU and Israel, and to arrest any IDF soldiers that pass through Ireland for the crimes that they've been committing.
How many more children have to die before you call it genocide? How many more children have to die before you call it genocide?
Should I speak of Gaza, of homes shattered in seconds, of mothers holding lifeless children, of families turned to ash in a moment of silence, broken only by bombs?
What do you think is the long-term solution to the conflict?
The solution to the conflict would be Israel to stop the genocide and find a way to live amongst each other. I'm not saying that anyone should be kicked out of anywhere, but at the end of the day, there needs to be a response and there needs to be a resolution for the people who are going through a genocide right now. And if it's whether it's having Israel lose its right to be a state or whatever they are at the moment in occupation, and have Palestine be set back the way it should be, then I think that's what should happen, to be honest.
Israel needs to dismantle all the illegal settlements and to recognise a democratic and peaceful Palestine. It needs to be probably at the level of the United Nations, needs to move in and ensure that there is a peaceful and prosperous future for Palestinians without Israeli aggression.
Personally, I think it is a federated one-state solution. With the expanded settlements in the West Bank, I don't see a realistic Palestinian state being built there. And I think that a united country with, a similar anti-militarism curriculum and education and otherwise, I think that would be significantly beneficial for the whole region.
I think the solution to the conflict is a single democratic state in Palestine for the people to live there, and the right of return for the Palestinian people who are living in refugee camps across the world and across the Middle East who've been expelled, and an end to the apartheid regime.
I feel like we should be asking maybe Palestinians. I feel like I'm not necessarily equipped, but I definitely think a land that's free for all Palestinians to live in without living in cages and fences, without another government or regime controlling their electricity, their water, without them kicking them out of their own houses that they've lived in for generations.
I think just that we all have to do our bit to continue to stand in solidarity with the people in Gaza, with the people in the West Bank who are suffering, who are continuing to suffer. It's important to let them know that we haven't forgotten about them. And it's important to let those belligerents know, those who are carrying out this horrendous slaughter, know that we won't stand for it and that we will do everything to isolate them and to let them know that Ireland will not stand for this in any way, shape or form.
Today, I chose not only to speak of suffering, Today, I chose to speak of you, the Irish people. From the deepest of our hearts, thank you for 17 long months of unwavering support, for marching when others turned away, for lifting our flag when our hands were trembling, for standing with justice, not just today, but every day.